been saying for months that I was gonna get back to reviewing the Beatle albums like I was originally starting to do, and got in, what did I do, 3 of them before dropping the ball again. So we're back. I have been meaning to sit down and review Beatles for Sale for literally months now. And it's one of those things that when I stop and think I need to, like, sit down and do the thing, for some reason it always feels like it's gonna be such an overwhelming task, and I don't know why. Because once I sit down and go through song by song, I'm like, oh wait, actually that was really easy. I totally could have popped that off in one afternoon. Why didn't I do that months ago? I don't know. I think it's just I've built it up into such a huge monumental task in my head because these albums have been so just monumental to my life that the idea of trying to review them objectively just seems like such a hard task, to where my brain's like, no, I don't want to do it. I don't want to have to look at it objectively. I don't want to. I just want to say I love all the things and call it a day. Oh, God. But yeah, so this album I feel like does not get enough love. And I'm partly even guilty of that one too, because if you ask me, like, knee-jerk reaction, 1 to 10, what would I rate this album? I probably would have rated it lower than I rated it when actually going through song by song and scoring them and all. And then was like, it's, like, actually a pretty solid album, just saying, and yet people sleep on this one. They sleep on the Beatles for Sale album, big time. It's like they go from Hard Day's Night to Help, like as if this one never happened or existed, even though it's got a hell of a track list on it. So, going through song by song, here we go. Are my reviews objective? Probably still not. A lot of it's just based on my feelings, and you know what? This is my review, therefore I'm allowed to do that. So, anyway, it's probably about the best we're gonna get out of me in trying to review Beatles things, because I just... it's so hard to actually do it when it's stuff that I've known literally my whole life. So, oh, goodness. So, this song... or not this song, this album, honestly, when I first got this, I was probably 12 or 13, I want to say. 14 at most. And it pretty much blew my mind that all of these tracks that I knew weren't on A Hard Day's Night, I knew they weren't on Please Please Me or With the Beatles, and I was like, were they all just singles and that's why I can't find them anywhere? No, they're just living on this album. This is where they've been hiding, and I was so happy because back in a pre-YouTube world, hell, back in a pre-Napster world, yeah, I'm that old, okay? Yes, California was a state when I went to school. Anyway. Oh, God. In joke, but... I take that back. It was a state, but we were taught by Indians in teepees, but I went to a Catholic school. So they were Indian nuns. I stole that joke from my sister and I don't even care. So I had to share it because it's that good. I'm sorry, I almost cried. I laughed so hard when she said that one. Anywho. So, when I found out so many of these tracks that I love so hard are all in here, and nobody told me this, I was just like, mind blown. So, it starts off with No Reply, which is like such a catchy little bop to start it with. Let me tilt this down a wee little bit. Okay, so I can sit down more. I do have my computer next to me so I can read the... sad excuse for notes that I wrote down. These are not even notes. These are not even notes. Like, this is what happens when I do this at 1:30 in the morning, you guys. I probably, like, should have done this, yeah, at, like, a better hour of the day or night, but did it 1:30, so deal with it. But yeah, so it's a really catchy song that it starts with, which I think is always a smart move with Beatles albums, and it gets stuck in your head every time, but I personally really love this track, especially, because it makes me think of the anthology and the outtakes versions of it. In my face. But yeah, that one. I can't sing it without having to do it that way. It's like Rocky Raccoon all over again. But, Yeah, the anthology kind of ruined me with this song, because I had that first. I had the anthology long before I had this, so... Oh, I giggle every time, but I love the song so much. So, the next track on here is I'm a Loser, and honestly, I feel like this song could be the big sibling of Help. Because it was like in that phase where John was kind of like letting out his emotional and mental state through his songs. I mean, I guess he kind of always did, but like there was a really raw phase, like late 64 to 65, where he got like really, really raw. It's just like, damn, John, you okay? Apparently not. But yeah, this one totally seems to have been the stepping stone that then led to Help, if you ask me. Which is probably also another reason why I like it so much, because I love Help. We've established that. But also in that, I just relate with the lyrics a little too much, too. But, it's one of those songs kind of like, well, I know I keep comparing it to Help, but for a different example, Maxwell Silverhammer. It's under the facade of being like this poppy, happy little sounding song until you pay attention to the lyrics, and then it's like, Jesus Christ! Like, although I laughed and act like a clown, beneath this mask I am wearing a frown, etc., etc. It's just like, you okay? You doing okay? And then you look at his life and no, he really wasn't. But I do love the song, though. Just saying. So, the next track is Babies in Black, which honestly feels like it should have been on Please Please Me, if you ask me. But this one forever reminds me of the Beatles cartoon series for how often they used it in their romps throughout the show. It's a pretty short song, all things considered, and given how catchy it is, I kind of wish it were longer, and I kind of wish that they had more repeats with the harmonies in the middle of it, because that's my favorite part of the whole song, is that little middle bit. I really wish there were more of it, like, in that kind of minor key. I love it. I love it so hard. I know, that one is kind of one that it seems like half the fandom will look at me and roll their eyes for loving it. I don't give a shit. I really don't care what anyone else thinks of what songs I love. So, because then there's other ones where I'm like, I could take it or leave it, and they're like, that one is ride or die for me, and I'm like, okay, you know what, we can agree to disagree, dude, it's okay. Calm down. Yes, there's somebody in particular I am indeed thinking of in saying that, but not gonna name names, but seriously, we can all coexist in peace. It's okay. We're allowed to have favorites. We're allowed to have least favorites too. It's okay. It's okay. So the next track on here is Rock and Roll Music, which is another prime example of the Beatles covering a pre-existing song, but making it their own and making it, in my opinion, better and more of a classic than the original. No offense to Chuck Berry, his version's all fine and well, but like, what the Beatles did to it, like, they took it to a whole nother level and made this song synonymous with them, just like they did with Twist and Shout. Just saying. I kind of think that the original wishes it could have attained the levels that this one did, but at the same time, the fact that they covered this and did it so well, I feel like is also like an honoring of their musical roots. So it kind of just works on all of the levels, if you ask me. So, next song on here, one of my favorites on the whole album, is I'll Follow the Sun, which, when I stop and think about the fact that this is one of the first songs Paul McCartney ever wrote as a teenager to boot. Like, damn, sir, like, I have such an inferiority complex thinking about that. Like, holy shit, he had more talent in his pinky as a teenager than I will ever have in my entire life combined. God damn. But this is why he's a living legend and I'm not. But, oh, goodness. It pretty much just ticks all of the boxes for me. I mean, it's a Paul vocal song. I mean, it's easy to play along with, sing along with. It's got great lyrics. It's got the harmonies going in it, which, again, another one where I wish there was more of the harmony sections, but I mean, it is what it is. I adore this damn song so much. So the next track is Mr. Moonlight, and this one is interesting for me because as a kid, for whatever reason, I don't know why, I cannot explain this for the life of me. I really don't know why, but I like actively, sorry, I'm like moving stuff around over here. I actively disliked this song, and I don't know why. and I would skip it, like, literally every single time. I don't know if it's maybe, as, like, a super little kid, maybe the first time I heard it, maybe it scared the ever-loving shit out of me that it starts with John literally, like, scream singing, and, like, probably made me jump a mile, and, like, in my little kid brain, I was like, no, I don't like that song, I don't like being scared. So, maybe it was that? I don't know what my deal was, but for years, I actively disliked that song and would avoid it. And that's a shame, because it's a good song. And now I've grown to like it the older I've gotten. And I feel like what really, like, cemented it firmly now as an adult. Like, I was already starting on the path towards liking it, but then when I took that, like, 27-hour bus ride from California to Arizona, and middle of the night, I am literally the only one on that bus awake. Apparently including the driver, if we remember that story. But, I digress. Almost died that night. I shouldn't be laughing, but it's either laugh or cry. I'd rather laugh. So, I lived, so I'm here to tell the tale, and I will laugh. But anyway, just at that hour, literally being the only one awake on that bus, and kind of spacing out, staring out the window on these long-ass expanses of just open road with nothing to look at but the moon, and Mr. Moonlight comes on Spotify. And I was like, damn, that's perfect fucking timing. Shit! And I'm sitting there like, alright, kind of grooving with it. I'm just, like, altogether feeling the vibe of this song in this moment, and it feels so perfect, and so special, and so beautiful in that moment that I almost cried. I was like, I finally understand it. I finally understand why people like this song. Actually, I'm almost crying right now, but it was just like, lightning bolt moment, just, like, hit my brain of, I get it now. And ever since that night, like, I really appreciate that song on a whole other level that I never understood before that moment. But ever since then, I love that song now. So, oh goodness. And Ringo's drumming on that song too, especially. I feel like it doesn't get talked about nearly enough or get the props it deserves. So I'm calling it out and mentioning it right here, right now, because it totally deserves it. Okay, so the next song on the album is Kansas City, Hey, 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 or whatever you want to call it. This one, for me, is one of those that I fall into the camp of, I could take it or leave it. I don't hate it, but I'm just, I could take it or leave it. And then other people are like, how dare you? And I'm like, what the fuck? But this one I've just never been wild about. I don't know why. It was kind of like, out for years, don't really know why I wasn't into Mr. Moonlight, although this one I don't have, like, an active dislike for. I'm just neutral, not good, not bad, but at the same time, odds are, unless I am specifically in the mood to listen to the entire album start to finish, I'll probably skip it. I will probably skip it when going through this album. Sorry, and the irony here is that it's, like, my dad's favorite song, not only just on the album, but of, like, the early Beatle years collectively. It's, like, the one he zeroes in on, and it's the one where I'm like, it's okay. He, as a bass player, like, he appreciates that he can play the bass run of that song, and I think that's why he likes it so much. I don't know, but for him, he loves it, whereas I'm just, like I said, I could take it or leave it. It's okay. It's okay. That's just okay, in my opinion. But then there's other people who are ride or die for this song, so it just, different strokes for different folks. So the next song on here is 8 Days a Week, which I think is, like, the #1 quintessential classic of the whole album. Nobody can dispute that. It's, like, the most famous one on here, pretty sure. And who can listen to this song without clapping along to it? Come on. If you claim you can, you're lying. You're lying. So, anyways. Oh, goodness. It is, like, the epitome of being a Beatle bop. So, love it. Now, Words of Love is the next song on here, and this one is my #1 skip it, just instant skip it track on here. I just don't care for it. Don't know why, but like this one I kind of just do actively. No. It's so weird because the jangly guitar on it sounds like the Byrds to me. Therefore, I should, on paper, love this. And the fact that I don't confuses me, and always has, and probably always will. Maybe one day I'll have my Mr. Moonlight moment with this where all of a sudden it just clicks in my brain and I suddenly appreciate it. But that day has not yet come. So for me, this one is just a, oh. And if it's like on a radio station, it comes on, it's like, oh, alright. I mean, I'll sit through it, but at the same time, I'm like, oh, how long is this song again? Sorry if you love that song. I know the next one is where we'll probably be reversed on that, because the next one is Honey Don't, and that's the one where most people are like, oh god, Kill It With Fire. I'm like, no, bring it! It's the Ringo song of the album. Bring it! Which we have established here. I look forward to the Ringo songs on the album, damn it. And especially for, like, the early Beatles songs, like, the Ringo ones in particular, of, like, the early Ringo ones, are, like, especially special in my heart, for lack of a better way of wording it. And I count this in amongst them. It doesn't matter that the Beatles didn't write it. I don't care. This was the original version. I knew of it growing up. Therefore, in my head, it is a Beatles song, even though I logically know, yes, it's a Carl Perkins song. I know that, logically. But in my heart and in my mind, I will always treat it as a Beatles song. This song is Ringo's, as far as I am concerned. It belongs to him. Oh, goodness. And this one was one of the ones that I had the most access to in my Beatles fandom infancy, so it's just always going to be a very special one for me. So, next track on here is Every Little Thing. And this is one that is kind of weird because I have to be in the right mood for it. And if I'm in the right mood for it, I love it, and I wonder why I don't listen to it more often. But then if I'm not in the mood for it, I'm just like, skip it. So it's just, I am very hot and cold with this song depending on the day. Oh, goodness. So next track is I Don't Want to Spoil the Party, and honestly, I feel like this song easily could have been written for the A Hard Day's Night album, but they just had one too many tracks, so they just held it over for whatever the next album would be. This has the vibe and the energy of A Hard Day's Night, and I feel like in my head it should have belonged with it. Drop And I Love Her, stick this one in there, stick And I Love Her on here, call it a day. I just fixed your Beatle album problem. Yeah, so many people are gonna cancel me for even suggesting such a sacrilege thing to do, but if it were up to me, that would be the song on that album, the other would be the one on this album, and I think it would just flow better. I'm just saying, that would be the thing that would pop A Hard Day's Night into perfection, top tier, god level tier album. You cannot even shake a stick at it. There'd be nothing anyone could say to knock that album then. But it's not, and it's on this one. So I will love it from right here, but in my head and in my heart, it feels like it belongs over there, and that the one that I skip over there is the one that feels like it should be here, and if it were here, I feel like I'd appreciate it a lot more, and it's so weird, and I don't know why I have felt that way since I was a little freaking kid, but I've always felt that way with this one. Oh, gosh. Like, actually, I didn't have this one as a kid. I had this one as a tween. So, I should say, as a tween, but as a 30-something, a tween feels like a little kid, comparatively, although I had A Hard Day's Night as an actual little kid, but anyway. So, What You're Doing is the next one on here, and aside from the really cool drum pattern on it that I totally dig, the rest of the song, it's okay. It's okay. It's not bad. I'll listen to it. That 50-50 shot, will I or won't I skip it? But, I'll listen to this one a lot more often than I'll listen to Every Little Thing. But, just on the whole, is it on the same level as a lot of the earlier tracks on the album? No. But, I mean, it's still a pretty alright song. It's a pretty alright song. And then it finally wraps up and concludes with Everybody's Trying to Be My Baby, and it ends on a strong note with this. I feel like it's one of the best of George's early Beatle efforts, in my opinion. And truth be told, as a kid, even before I had the album, I heard the song often on our local classic rock station. So I knew the song even before I had the access to play it whenever I wanted it. I'm gonna be real with you. For quite a few years, can't believe I'm admitting it publicly, I mistook this as a Ringo song. Listening to it now, I'm like, how? That does not sound like Ringo. What the fuck, so? But yeah, for hella long, I mistook this as Ringo. Probably until I actually had the album and played it over and over obsessively to death, and the more I listened to it, had the realization of, that's George. That's not Ringo, that's George. Okay. But yeah, a lot of people have those moments with George and John songs. For me, I more often had those moments with George and Ringo. What is it with George's voice where he just feels like he's interchangeable in other spots? I don't know, but anyway. Ultimately, on a 1 to 10 scale, having gone through here song by song, I think I'm giving this an 8 out of 10, guys. Like, again, if you had knee-jerk asked me what I would have rated it, I probably would have assumed, just going off of memory, like, I don't know, maybe like a 6 or a 7. But then when I actually sat down and looked at the tracks and listened to it again, and really thought about each one individually and how I would score them and how that would all add up together, it's a strong 8. It's a strong 8. And again, I feel like people sleep on this album, they don't give it enough time of day or love, and it's a shame because it is a really good album, and it shouldn't be so overlooked. I realize it got overshadowed on both sides by the albums that surrounded it. I understand why it got so eclipsed, but at the same time, it's 2021, people. You know it's there. There's no excuse for sleeping on this album anymore. So, anyway. I have a lot of feelings, I know. So anyways, that's it for this one, guys. So as usual, you know what to do. If you like this video, go ahead and give it a like. If you're not already and you'd like to be, click subscribe, hit that notification bell icon so you never miss an upload, leave comments down below. How do you feel about this album? What would you rate it? Anything about anything, leave it all down below. The next one of these I'll be doing will be the Help album, so that's gonna be fun. The next two are gonna be real fun. It's like my favorite Beatle albums, like back to back. I'm like, yes. So anyways, leave anything about anything down below. Make sure you're following my social media accounts, my Facebook fan page, my Twitter, my Instagram, my Etsy, everything and more. It's all down below. And if you like what I do here on this channel and you'd like to help support it, the donation link, as always, is down in the description. Anyway, guys, until next time.